Hypixel Skyblock's main source of lore has always been the journal entries scattered throughout the Catacombs, so I decided to make a video summarizing the whole thing. They're pretty short though, so I recommend you read them yourself if you actually care about the lore. Anyways, let's get started. The story starts 17 years after the calamity. Nikon was a student at the Mage Academy and the teachers were threatening to expel him because Nikon wanted to read a bunch of forbidden scrolls. He was really bad at magic and could only really do simple spells. The teachers called him the worst student they've ever had. One day, Nikon's just sitting in his room after getting in a fight with the teachers, but then he hears a piece of paper slide under his door. He opens the door, but there's no one on the other side. He reads the paper and realizes it's the dark magic the teachers were hiding from him. The spell was an invisibility spell, which would let him cross magic barriers without being detected, but he only knew one magic barrier and it was the last place he wanted to be. In case you're wondering, the magic barrier he knew was the one keeping K-Man, also known as the Wither King, imprisoned. A few weeks later, Nikon uses the spell to sneak through the barrier. Inside the barrier, he finds the Wither King. The Wither King's middle head stares at him and tells Nikon that he made the invisibility spell. Nikon then accuses the Wither King of causing the calamity, and I honestly have no idea whether he is right or not. Then, as it turns out, the Wither King's magic is a type of Fel magic. In case you don't remember, Fels are the upside down Endermen in floor 5, which are meant to resemble tentacles. K-Man then says he studied Fel magic from the Dragon's Heart, which I assume is the same Dragon's Heart Talker talks about in his dialogue. K-Man also mentions that he used to be a human. Since we know Nikon was a human at the time of these journal entries, I guess we can assume all Withers used to be humans at some point. Eventually, K-Man felt like escaping, so he gives Nikon a spell to destabilize the magic barrier. After Nikon makes a hole in the barrier, K-Man strikes the earth with a bolt of dark energy which destroys the cage he was in. Then both him and Nikon jump in the void, do a pro gamer move and enter the catacombs. It's been around for 100 years I think since the calamity at this point, and some random person wants to visit her dead grandparents. She finds the graves, but the corpses are missing. Then she hears a growl and finds out it's coming from a zombie. She then reports it to the Mage Association, which seems to be related to the Mage Academy Nikon was studying at all those years ago. The Mage Association finds the zombie and manages to figure out that it's a zombie. Such geniuses. Anyway, the zombie then somehow gives birth to another zombie which killed some guy, so they decided to kill both zombies. The king sends a bunch of people in the catacombs to investigate. The leader of the expedition would be General Dan, accompanied by Solomon. In total, there were 50 soldiers and 3 mages, and one of the soldiers was Sadan, which you might know as the boss of floor 6. On the second floor of the catacombs, they find a large crypt with the corpses missing. They sit there for a while trying to figure out where the corpses went, but then they give up and fall asleep. During the night, a zombie attacks a soldier named Albert. Another soldier tries to defend him, but the zombie breaks his arm. A wizard killed the zombie, but Albert was already dead. While walking through the second floor, they encounter a wither skeleton that kills 3 soldiers. Solomon wants to stop the expedition because he thinks they'll encounter K-Man and die, but General Dan doesn't want to stop. Finally, they get to the third floor. After a few hours, they find a room with giant water pipes landing into large pools, which is probably the professor's boss room. The soldiers take a lunch break and Solomon asks for them to go back to the castle again, and Dan finally agrees. However, a few hundred spiders, zombies, and skeletons show up out of nowhere. The narrator stuns some of the undead and then runs away along with a few soldiers. Then one of the soldiers he escaped with was mind controlled and tried to kill his friend. The 10th page is missing and the last page is unfinished, so the narrator probably died. If you're wondering what happened to everyone who didn't escape, Necron showed up and killed Dan. Everyone else ran and Solomon created a magic barrier or something. This journal's narrator gets lost and can't find the entrance to floor 3. He then notices the walls moved around, referencing the random nature of the catacombs in-game. He tries to chart out a basic map but gives up. So Dan noticed the floating guy on the first and second floor, but he didn't tell anyone about it. He was surprised that he was able to notice his eye, but Solomon couldn't. After escaping from the battle in the first floor, he feels the Watcher's presence again. The Watcher states that Dan's mind is hard to read and asks him who his parents are. Sadan says he never met his parents, which is pretty interesting, I guess. Sadan tries to kill the Watcher, but he faints. The narrator of this journal, which I think is K-Man, thinks the undead army is strong enough to take over the Skyblock Kingdom, and dislikes that Nikon wants them to hide their army. Only 2 humans survived, those being Sadan, which was left alive because the Watcher was interested in him, and the Mage, which probably refers to Solomon. The undead wanted to send Storm to the castle to destroy it. Before Floor 7 was added, the Floor 9 boss description stated that Storm destroyed an entire island, so that may have had something to do with this plan. Anyways, lastly, there are 2 weird journal entries that are kind of their own separate stories. The first one is about an interdimensional rift thing above the hub mountain and 2 guys who studied it. Eventually the Watcher shows up. The second one is about Livid, who joined a group of hitmen. After a few years, Livid stopped feeling like his skills were challenging, so he goes to an inn to find a worthwhile target. He sees a man in a cloak and tries to kill him with his dagger, but the cloaked man cuts him first. The man's skin is described as mixed with some sort of grey dust, which I think is supposed to mean he was converting to a wither. We know Cayman has been a wither for a long ass time, meaning he would have been a wither at this point. And we don't know much about Stormgoldor and Maxor, so I think this man was Nikon. Somehow, despite getting his heart cut in half and blood flow stopping, Livid survived. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it because it took a while to make. But anyways, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next episode of Skyblock Lore.